welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If you haven't, welcome. My name is Mazzy, and I share about my chronic illnesses and how they affect my life and how I cope with them, and basically just try and normalize having a disability. And so I have not done a video on this channel since I had my GJ surgery, which was March 2021. And I do want to start working on working more on my YouTube presence and stuff like that. So I was going to do a really quick recap, probably not that quick because it's literally been like a year and a half. But I was going to do a recap of my health since the last time I made a video. Tell you guys where I am with everything, and new diagnoses and treatment options and stuff like that. So let's get into the video. Okay, so like I said, last time I videoed anything for this channel, it was my GJ tube surgery. That was a day in the life, and it went smoothly. That was in March 2021. I transferred my care to the adult facility in May of that year, and then pretty much immediately was admitted for dehydration and like severe electrolyte imbalances, and I was inpatient for 3 or 4 days. My ability to tolerate feeds had been significantly dropping, and we were trying to get a line for IV fluids, but people were not very receptive to the idea. I was running feeds well enough to get my full nutrition, but not full hydration, so I was very potsy and stuff like that. I was diagnosed with POTS secondary to gastroparesis in that time as well, which means that since I could not eat or drink normally due to my gastroparesis and other GI tract issues, that the POTS was directly related to that, and that the POTS symptoms would go away if we could get this part of stuff under control and get more fluids into me. Then, after not getting that to happen, I actually started not tolerating even the rate that I was at, and I was admitted in June, and I was inpatient for 17 days, left on TPN. We could not figure out what other issues were going on, so I actually reached out to the Mayo Clinic with my case and was wondering if they were willing to take it, and they said they were. So leaving that admission, the goal was just to be on TPN until we go to Mayo and figure out what else is going on. We went to Mayo in August of 2021, and I was still on TPN at that point. I was draining my stomach 24 hours a day, which I still do, still on TPN. They did a full GI, it's called a 48-hour GI transit study, which is like your normal gastric emptying study, but like a step further. So before I ate the radioactive eggs that they use in a traditional gastric emptying study, I had to swallow a pill that had radioactive material in it, and it had a delayed release capsule around it so that they could see how far it traveled and where it opened up. As it got further into my GI tract, it was not opened until, or it was not activated until it reached my colon, and that was how we were trying to determine how much dysmotility was actually through my entire GI tract. Leaving that facility, we also did anorectal manometry, which is basically electrodes in the anus and the rectum that determine how well your pelvic floor works, as well as how much dysmotility is in that area of your GI tract. So while I was there, I was diagnosed, or we confirmed my gastroparesis diagnosis. I was diagnosed with a hypertonic pelvic floor dysfunction, which means that my pelvic floor, which is the band of muscles like at your pelvis, similar to your diaphragm except lower, were not coordinated well enough for me to use the bathroom, which was a big part of my issues as well. And so I actually used treatment options when I left there to address that issue. We will talk about that a little bit later. I was also diagnosed with accelerated small intestinal function. It was actually through my small intestine 2 times faster than normal. The pill that I took did show that there was dysmotility in my colon, So leaving there, it was a slow stomach, fast small intestine, and slow colon, which causes a whole host of issues on its own. I was also, when I walked into the office, while I was at Mayo to go over my results, I sat down on the couch in a way that the specialist was a little bit, not concerned, but he noticed it immediately, and did mention that a lot of the conditions I have are comorbidities to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And so he suggested that when we got back to where I am, that I get evaluated for that, because he was just a motility specialist. He can't make that diagnosis, but based on a few markers that we went over during that visit, he did think that there was a pretty good chance that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So we were evaluated for that when I got back. Actually, in October, I started GI biofeedback and pelvic floor therapy. The pelvic floor therapy was a lot of just stretches and exercises to help relearn how to use muscles that I had just been using incorrectly my whole life. And then the GI biofeedback was basically the same thing as the anorectal manometry, except it was reinforcing the correct sensations to feel when trying to go to the bathroom, so that I would have kind of a point of reference for when I was on my own trying to use the restroom. And I did graduate from that program in either December or January later that year. So in November, I was diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I had already gone through some of the criteria with other professionals, so we kind of already knew that that was an issue, but I was officially diagnosed in November of 2021. We had a whole iron infusion issue that caused my, I needed iron infusions because I don't put iron in TPN, but when I got the iron infusion, it actually caused severe electrolyte imbalances as well. So we were kind of playing like cat and mouse with medical issues in January as well. And that's of 2022, that's of this year. In February, I did esophageal manometry at my motility center, and the actual manometry was, for my esophagus, was normal. We could actually see some evidence of the gastroparesis in the esophageal in the esophageal manometry study. And then based on a CT scan that my motility specialist saw after the fact, he did diagnose esophageal dysmotility, not via the actual manometry, but because of scans that he saw and consistencies with other patients with similar conditions. In March, I went septic. It was not my PICC line. I did have a PICC line at the time. They did not end up having to pull it. They were talking about somehow bacteria translocating from my small intestine into my bloodstream. We're not really sure how accurate that is. But there's been other issues around that for a while now. So we are kind of pursuing another workup for some IBD. IBD is a condition where your immune system attacks your GI tract. So if that were to be the case, then there would be probably patches of thinned intestinal wall, which would allow bacteria through to cause sepsis. But we're not entirely sold on that right now. We are doing scopes at the end of September, and then in October I'll be doing an endoscopy, an endo flip, which is similar to getting manometry done of your stomach, as well as if they see that there's an issue with the pylorus, they will inject Botox into the pylorus. If it's not a pyloric issue and it's more just that my stomach function is very weak, we will not do the pyloral Botox.
Hello, this is Editing Mazzy. I completely forgot about the whole bowel obstruction that I had. May 29th, I went in for emergency surgery after being in excruciating pain for 4 days. And we went and sat for maybe 45 minutes because of how urgent my case was. And then pretty much as soon as I got back, they took me back. They took me to get a CT scan, and they're like, yeah, we see an obstruction, but like, we're just gonna hold on to you until it passes. And then they came back 30 minutes later, and they're like, just kidding, you're going for emergency surgery in 30 minutes. So at 1:30 in the morning, I went down for surgery to resect a bowel obstruction. It was closed loop. My liver, like the branch of intestine connected to my liver, cut off the flow out of my stomach, twisted off, and they could not fix it without cutting out intestine. I'm almost like 3 months post-op, and I mean, everything's healed. I still get bowel obstruction symptoms sometimes, and that causes like a ridiculous panic, but I don't know, it's warranted. Anyways, I thought that was like a little bit important, and I just completely forgot to mention it.
So, that's kind of the roundup of what's been going on. And you should expect more videos because I have a whole list of them that I'm going through. So, I will see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please like and subscribe or share with people you know. Leave comments if you have questions. I'm more than happy to answer. If you want more information or want to follow me a little bit closer, I have an Instagram under the same handle. And I also have a TikTok that I have not been as active on for the last few months now. So, yes, thank you for sticking out this long, and I will see you in my next video.